Welcome in our friend Tom Luginbill. Lugs, where are you, man?
I am in Atlanta right now. I did a sit-down last night with Georgia Tech quarterback Haynes King. Had him do a couple of X's and O's type things, breaking down the quarterback position. We took you'll like this stuff. I had him take a play. We paused prior to the snap, and I had him walk me through everything that a quarterback's got to do pre-snap before anything even happens. We talked about the formation, the protection, and then we snapped the ball a little bit, let the defense move some, and we paused it again. And then I had him kind of point out, okay, now what's changed? What have you seen? What are the leverage points? What are your indicators that take you from A, B to C? And he walks me through all of that. And then we run the play through completion. What we did is we used the second to last play of the game against Miami. Remember the Miami mishap?
Yes.
Taking a knee? Okay, so Georgia Tech gets the ball back, no timeouts left, 22 seconds, and they're on like their own, 35 maybe, something like that. It's 2nd and 10. And this one throw, they end up completing on the far sideline for I want to say it was 20-something yards, 27-something yards. And the next play was the broken play that ended up being the touchdown to beat Miami because they didn't just simply take a knee. So Haynes took me through that, and we walked through it. It's going to air tonight on our campus tour with Georgia Tech on ACC Network at 7 p.m. Eastern. So getting ready to wrap that up, and then I've got couple of days off, then I got to head to Bristol, Connecticut for a football seminar, and then I go from there to Duke to do the same type of campus tour that we're doing across the conference all month long.
All right, so Haynes King started at A&M, transfers to Georgia Tech, ends up being a good football player.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the kid can play.
He was good at A&M, but he couldn't stay healthy.
That's right. He
won the job twice.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad it's worked out for him in Atlanta. And I watched him play last year. I watched the game that you're referencing. That was a wild, wild game. And what's fun is for all of us to know, as you know, we're going to get a few of those games this year where things go, absolutely haywire. So all right, so now that Leonard transferred to Notre Dame, did I have that right? Riley Leonard? Yeah.
Yep, that's correct. Yep.
Okay, so he left Duke. You'll be at Duke in a couple weeks. Hold on, I'm going through here. Who is the star QB in the ACC this year, Luke?
Well, to be honest with you, there's a few of them. I think it would start with Cam Ward at Miami, transferring in from Washington State.
That's right.
You've got Grayson McCall going from Coastal Carolina to NC State. All right. You have Cade Klubnik at Clemson, Max Johnson transferred from A&M to North Carolina. I did not realize how statistically impressive Max Johnson's production has been when he's played. Like, you look at some of his numbers, and you're like, wait a minute, how did he amass all of that? Obviously bouncing back and forth between LSU and Texas A&M and now North Carolina. And then, DJ Uiagalelei is at Florida State, although I'm withholding judgment there until I see him actually become what everybody wants him to be. I kind of feel like with DJ, the sample size is large enough that how many times does he have to continue to show you what he is before you believe it, right?
Right.
And so from that perspective, no, I think it's a strong league from a quarterback vantage point. You got Tyler Shuck coming in up at Louisville. Syracuse gets Kyle McCord from Ohio State.
Ooh.
So there's going to be some top to bottom really good quarterback play in the league.
Those are some athletes. Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of athletes, let's go with the Mississippi kid, KJ Jefferson under Gus Malzahn at Central Florida.
Yeah.
I think this dude may absolutely dominate the Big 12 this year. How do you see it, Luke?
Well, he brings the element that Cam brought to the offense when he was at Auburn. Big body, physical athlete. I don't think he's as sudden and explosive with his size the way that Cam was, but he is every bit as effective as a runner. And I said this to you, I can't tell you how many times we've talked that offense is at its best when you have to defend the quarterback's legs. When you don't have to defend the quarterback's legs, I don't think it's been anywhere near as effective. And I think you could say that for Rhett Lashley. You could say that for Gus Malzahn. You could say that for Chad Morris. All of these guys that have, a variation of the same scheme. So he's played a lot of football, man. And I'll tell you, out of the Big 12, I had UCF last year in Norman, Oklahoma, and that did not look like your normal Group of 5 team making the transition to the Power 5 level. UCF's got athletes. They got players. And you add a quarterback that's played that much football. I still think you're going to get some inconsistencies from KJ Jefferson because I think he's always been a little bit streaky at times. It was a bad offensive football team that he was playing with at Arkansas last year. I kind of want to give him a flyer on that one.
Absolutely.
I think they go from year one in the Big 12, where they were highly competitive, to year 2 and could end up being a problem.
Okay, for our listeners, North Panola, KJ Jefferson had a good career at Arkansas. It better under Kendall Browse than what obviously is what Tom Luginbill is talking about. But now he's with Gus Malzahn in Orlando at Central Florida, and I expect him to have, if he stays healthy, that's just like any of these guys. If he stays healthy, I expect him to have a big year. We are the Out of Bounds Show.
Go ahead, but real quick, Paul. I had it on my mind. And I know you got to promo the show here, but once you're done with that, let's talk about this Mississippi State schedule. I heard your comments right before we came on air.
Okay, I've got it up. That's perfect. The Out of Bounds Show is driven by your next Ford Expedition. Mac Hike Ford I-55 North in Jackson. He is Tom Luginbill, ACC Network, ESPN. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. All right, Lugs, let's. You want to kind of go through this Mississippi State schedule?
Yeah. Well, first off, I think they start off 3-0. I think they take care of Eastern Kentucky at home. They go to Sun Devil Stadium to play what you could make the argument last year was the one roster or team in the Pac-12 that was worse than Colorado. Stanford is probably in the conversation too, but Arizona State was just so depleted of talent, and it was tough for them to compete. I think Mississippi State's got the better roster. I think they got a better football team. Toledo is a sneaky game. I don't like Toledo. I don't know why anybody. That's like scheduling App State, or that's like scheduling JMU or Boise. So that's scary, but I think they can start 3-0. And then the games that I think they've got to steal. They got to steal the Florida game. I think they're better than Arkansas. You could get the W against UMass, and that would get them to 5?
Yeah. So
you're going to have to steal one from somebody to get bowl eligible, which I think that could happen. That could happen. What if they get Missouri at home?
Yeah, Missouri may be beat up by then with playing more West teams. I know we're not East-West anymore, and you and I hit this a couple weeks ago. But I think Missouri, while they're good, I think they're in for a little bit of a rude awakening, kind of like Oklahoma coming to the SEC. I think Missouri and Kentucky substitutes Mississippi State for Ole Miss. Ole Miss much, much better this year. I think Kentucky's in for a rude awakening as we consolidate the divisions, Luke's, and I think Missouri is too. Not that they won't win some games. They're not Mississippi State by any stretch, but I just think that they're going to get
sneaking up on anybody either.
Right.
They're not.
That's right.
Last year they snuck. Nobody saw that coming, right? And you kind of every week kept waiting for the bubble to burst, and it didn't. But that's not going to happen this year.
See, Lebby believes his first 11. So the problem here is depth. They have Dan worked this team into a pretty good talent profile, as you know, heading up recruiting for ESPN over the years. They don't have the depth that they've had, or even the top end talent. There's not a Jeffrey Simmons, Chris Jones, Fletcher Cox, obviously type guy. Right. So there's a combination of things going on here. They believe they've got a pretty damn good starting 11, not what Dan had, before. And but the deal is depth. I think they could get to 5. You said the 4 non-cons and Arkansas at home. The question is, can they steal one from Florida or Missouri, Luke's?
Right. Right. That's the thing. You're gonna have to get an upset somewhere. And I'm not saying that it would happen, but anything can happen in a rivalry game. So you look at the Egg Bowl. All those things are on the table because a rivalry game is a rivalry game, and it means more. It's different. The approach is different. The perspective is different. So you can't just disregard that one at the end.
No, I look last year, and I can't believe this because I thought it would be 40-10. Last year in the third quarter, with everything going against Mississippi State, they were awful on offense on their third coach in less than 12 months, and they were up 7-3 on Ole Miss, one of their best teams that they've ever had. So I never thought that would happen, but I actually think that the gap has been expanded since then, Luke's. But I do think that it can be, not this year, but closed relatively. That Levy may can expedite it because of he's on offense and he coaches the QB position. Does that sound
right?
You agree with any of that?
Yeah. No, I totally do. And listen, you get into the year one scenario, and you're getting a feel for the staff, you're getting a feel for the kids, and you're always in this evolutionary phase until really the completion of that full calendar year, right? When you get past the bowl season, now you've had a chance to sit back a little bit, and you're going to be able to evaluate, okay, where did we go wrong? What do we need to tweak? How do I need to approach something maybe in a different style, in a different manner? And especially not just with new staffs coming in and taking over a program, but a new staff coming in and taking over a program with a first-time head coach.
Right. Yeah, they're the most inexperienced staff in the SEC. And so even though Levy Kennedy is offensive line coach, who you know of from Arkansas, and David Turner, his defensive line coach, all have a ton of years under their belt. Coleman Hutzler's never called plays on defense, although he is considered a really good special teams coach. That is an asset, but it's not the same. Here's where I am with coaching today, Lugs, and Mullen and Kiffin both did this. I'm referencing local here, but others in the league do too, and some don't. When a guy is not the guy on your staff, you got to pull the plug. You can't wait. And so like when Mullen hired Peter Sermon, he knew, okay, this isn't the deal, and he made a move. Right. Kiffin went from Durkin to, I can't remember the guy's name, Crum or something, and then he went to Golding. Okay, he knew this isn't what I need or what our fit is. And so I think that when I look at coaches, you got to be able to pull the plug, Luke, if it's not working.
Yeah, and listen, you'll know if you made a mistake quickly. And I know there's also, there's loyalties, there's friendships at play, but at the end of the day, too, there's a job that needs to be done.
Right.
And there can only be one boss, right? That's the thing is, as a head coach, it's like Nick Saban says, if you want to make everybody happy, go sell ice cream.
I love that.
But if you want to be a great, leader, you're going to have to do things that aren't popular. You're going to have to make choices that are difficult, and there are going to be personalities and emotions involved, and it's hard. And but at the end of the day, the record goes next to your name as the head coach.
That's right. All right, I got a question for you that I wrote down earlier today. SEC quarterbacks, you can't pick Carson back. You're starting a drive on your own 20-yard line. There's a couple minutes left in the game. You're down by at least 4 points because you got to score a touchdown. Tom Luginbill's the head coach. He gets to pick you got the same talent regardless of the quarterback you pick. So do you pick Milroe? Do you pick Dart? Do you pick Brady Cook? Or do you pick Quinn Ewers? Hold on, let me say it again real quick for our listeners. You're on your own 20-yard line. There's a couple of minutes left. Okay. You're down by more than a field goal, which means you've got to score a touchdown. You can't pick Carson back. Which quarterback in the Southeastern Conference would Tom Luginbill go with? Luke's?
This is going to sound crazy. I might take Garrett Nussmeier. at LSU. I think he's really, really good. And every time he's played really, really good. I think he's going to be a star there. I'm not going to go with him. I'll probably go with Jackson. And I think Quinn Ewers would be a 1A for me. But I also think Quinn and Jackson at times have the same deficiency. And that is an ability to kind of have a lapse for a player or two or a series, and then they snap back into place. You know what I'm talking about? Like you'll have a series or a run of 2 to 3 plays, and you're scratching your head. You're going, what is this guy doing, right? And like I remember vividly last year in the first half for Texas playing against, I think it was Wyoming, and you're scratching your head watching Quinn Ewers going, what are you seeing, dude? Like, what are you doing? And we've seen Jackson do that too. But that experience between those two, if you told me I had to take the one player that was going to take one shot and get the ball downfield vertically, I would say Jalen Milroe. Because that's the best part of Jalen Milroe's game. He's got a lot of work to do in the short and intermediate areas, but that kid can throw the deep ball.
Okay. Who is going to be better this year? Blake Shapen, Peyton Thorne, or Graham Mertz? I'm not talking about on the better team. I know Auburn and Florida have more talent than Mississippi State. Who's going to be the better player?
Yeah. I think Blake Shapen is the better player amongst the other two that you just mentioned right there. I actually think he is the better player. But Graham Mertz actually played pretty good last year. He's getting pushed by DJ Lagway. I don't know what the plan is there with Billy Napier and if they're going to try to get him involved and get him on the field. But if Graham Mertz is playing well, you don't have to do that. If you're not having to play the freshman quarterback and you're at Florida right now, things are probably going well for you. I think the most undervalued guy in the whole conference is Brady Cook. He would fall out of bed right now and run a 4.6. That's how athletic he is.
He's freaky. He's
really good, man. He is really good.
Who's the better pro prospect, Brady Cook or Jackson Dart?
That's a really good question. I think the best pro prospect in the deal is probably Carson Beck. That's a toss-up for me. I think with Jackson and Brady, they both bring tremendous attributes athletically. They can make all of the throws. That one would be like you'd have to really peel back the layers on some film study to make that assessment.
No, fair enough. Do you think Nussmeier can be as productive, or maybe now that he's going to get the PT that he's been wanting, as talented, as good as Brady Cook and Dart by 5, 6, 7 games in?
I absolutely do. And the reason why is this kid played it smart. The moment he didn't get on the field after a first cycle, he didn't look to transfer. The moment he didn't get on the field after the second cycle, he didn't look to transfer. Look at how productive guys are. Like a Carson Beck's a prime example, right? He's grown, he's matured, he's developed, he's learned, and he didn't have to be thrown to the wolves as a young player. And so I think the thing that's great about Garrett Nussmeier is, number one, when he played really well at a very, very high productive level. Now that with the weapons they're going to have around him and being the full-time starter, I think he's going to have a monster year.
Okay. So we'll have
don't forget about Connor Wegman now. Don't forget about Connor Wegman. If that kid stays healthy, that might be the sleeper team in the conference.
That's true. So we'll get a Nussmeier-Dart showdown in Baton Rouge. And it will probably be Ole Miss's first test, because I don't think that Kentucky or South Carolina, that is October 12th in Baton Rouge. So LSU will actually get a week off before the game, and Ole Miss will be playing their 7th game in a row. It's in Death Valley, and the line's about -2 LSU. That could be one hell of a ball game between Nussmeier and Jackson Dart. Goodness gracious. Tom Luginbill, enjoy your trip to Atlanta. We'll talk soon, my man.
All right, man. Be good.
With the ACC Network and ESPN. He joined us on the farm. Bureau Insurance Guest Line. We want to say good morning. Welcome in. Mike Detillier will join us at 8:30, WWL Radio TV New Orleans. Mike D coming off a little knee meniscus surgery. I had one of those 2 years ago, and we hope he is doing well. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. Breakfast this morning is brought to you by Fleetway Market and the Market Cafe in Gluckstadt. Absolutely amazing breakfast biscuits powered by Fleetway Market and the Market Cafe in Gluckstadt. Hour number 2 coming up.